Everyone, it's Gina K and welcome to Friday Night Stamp and Chat. It is Flashback Friday and we're going to have some fun tonight with an old favorite technique. And I'm really talking old. Probably one of my very first few videos I did this technique and I've loved it ever since and I hope you do too. So tonight I do have a topic. I don't know how you guys did today, how your day was, but my day, I was feeling blah, really blah today. Blah is the only word that I could come up with to describe how I was feeling. It was just one of those days. And I was reading some of the comments and it did look like some of you guys were feeling a little blah, just kind of things are feeling like it's starting to get old, you know? And I just had one of those days. But you know, feeling blah, it's a powerful response. It's a powerful emotional response to whatever's happening in your life. And it's actually a very helpful tool. It helps you manage your emotions and navigate transitions. And it's kind of a shut-off valve that helps you stop self-destructive behavior. That's why when you feel blah, you feel like kind of tired, you just want to lay down, you just don't have a lot of interest in things. That can actually protect you a little bit. And it's often easier to tell someone you feel blah than to go deeper even within yourself. It happens when you feel lonely or sad or forgotten, hurt, or even anxious. But sometimes you have to take some time to compassionately self-reflect. Ask yourself what's happening in your heart or in your life that's stirring up this kind of emotion. And I mean, you don't have to look very far. Life is weird right now. It's really weird. And even happy occasions are blah. There's no celebrating, there's no getting together, there's less human reaction and interaction. And it's not just you. It's not you. It's everyone. So feeling blah is also a reminder that maybe you're due for a little self-care and some attention. It's easy to go to bed late, right? We all go to bed late because we don't have to get up early, and then we get up late and our internal clock just gets so out of whack. And sometimes the worst place you can be when you're feeling blah is inside your own head. So don't forget to reach out to other people, get creative, come hang out in our Facebook group. And if the weather's nice, maybe have a friend come over and social distance in the driveway. Have them bring a folding chair and sit at one end and you sit at the other end. They bring their coffee, you bring your coffee. And from 10 feet away, you just talk and just have some actual physical contact with someone. And most of all, remember that be patient with yourself if you can't figure it all out today. A good night's sleep is healthy medicine. And, you know, we're all in this together, right? So tonight I have some fun for you. Let me move my little cheat note here that I have. My blah note. That's what it says. It says blah note. And that's it. I do have a quote for tonight, though. I have a good quote for the end of the night. But tonight, I am going to use, and you can see back here, I have my lemon scented bleach. Sure fine. Only the best here at the Gina K household. So we're going to do an old-fashioned technique using bleach. Now, I did see one comment way back that said, can I do the same technique with hydrogen peroxide? Probably not. Hydrogen peroxide will give you a little bit of lift. Maybe if you put it in your hair, or you mix it with hair color or something, but it really, bleach is the best way to go. Some people actually use like the little Clorox bleach pens to do this. They have a pen, but I just have a little cup of bleach that I just poured right into this little cup. Now, bleach tends to get old, and I didn't really realize that, and I have some old bleach here, but it's still working. But if you have bleach that's been sitting in your cabinet for 10 years, you may not get the desired effect. So maybe add a tiny little bottle of bleach to your instant cart and try this technique. I haven't been bothered by the smell. I'm also not bothered by any Gamsol or anything like that. It really doesn't bother me. In fact, bleach just kind of smells clean to me. But if you don't like the smell, this might not be the technique for you. Or just now it's beautiful out, you can open up your windows so you really won't, won't kind of linger in the air. So I'm going to switch to the overhead here, and I have a couple of pieces of cardstock. Now, I'm going to try a couple colors here and see which one works the best. This one is Faded Brick. I really like this color for when I'm using bleach with butterflies because there's a lot of contrast to it. So I think I'm going to do a butterfly card tonight. And then I think I might use this one and do a hydrangea. I did try a little bleach on this. It's very, very soft. This is turquoise sea. This is tranquil teal. So one thing that you might want to do if you're into this technique and you really like it is make yourself a little swatch book. Cut a small little square of each of your colors and stamp and emboss an image on them and bleach them. This way, when you're going to go grab a piece of cardstock to do this technique, you'll know what color it's going to come up to. Some cardstock is very stubborn and it does not move. Other cardstock really comes up beautifully. So I think I'm going to start with this tranquil teal, and let me get my Misty, and I am going to do this with the hydrangea stamp. I did the hydrangea just a few lives ago, and this is back in stock now. So I love this stamp. It's just a really, really nice little stamp. So I'm going to put that right there at the bottom. And of course you could do, if you like a lot of flowers, you could kind of angle this one in like this and then come around and position it down here like this. And that would also be really beautiful. But since I am making this card live and we only have an hour and I want to try to get 2 in, I'm just going to do the 1 flower. So I'm going to use a little bit of embossing magic. And this is a very, very detailed stamp. So I think the way that I'm going to stamp this, instead of using black embossing powder for this, I'm going to use some black onyx ink. And then I'm going to do it a second time, but I'm going to do it with embossing ink and then emboss it with clear. So that's one way, if you don't have black embossing powder and you want to get this look, that you can do it. So I'm going to first, I have a sleeve tonight. I'm wearing my sleepy sweatshirt. I'm sleeping in this shirt tonight. It's so comfortable. It's getting warm out, so that's nice. Okay, so there's my image. Very, very soft and very soft lines to this. So now I'm going to get my tidy towel and I'm going to clean the stamp. And then, leaving this right here in that same position, I'm going to use some embossing ink. You can use either the Gina K Designs embossing ink or you can use Versamark, whichever one you want. And I am going to put embossing ink right over that image. I want to make sure I get it all. Okay. So now I'm going to take that, and I have a piece of cardstock here, and I'm going to use some of the Gina K Designs Fine Detail Clear Embossing Powder. So this is kind of a way, if you have trouble with black embossing powder, and some people do, it just seems to get everywhere. This is a way that you can emboss over your black ink or any color ink, and just by using clear. So it's not quite as messy as a colored embossing powder doing it this way. Okay, let me just blow the excess away. And then I'm going to move the Misty out of the way. I'm going to emboss this. And I'm just using my heat tool. And you can see it's all turning black again. That's cool, huh? But you really need to use a stamp positioning tool for this, or it's really, really hard to to get it spot on. Okay. And the reason why I'm not just using black ink is because there's no black ink that will make it through bleach. Even StazOn and VersaFine and all those really permanent inks that you have in your collection, they will also bleach up with bleach. You want to emboss because the embossing powder isn't really affected by the bleach. Okay, so now I'm going to get my little bleach here. And I'm going to use an old water brush. And this water brush is stained because I was playing with reinkers with it. And it's a mess. So I don't really care. I try not to use bleach on the same paintbrush that I use watercolor. You can wash it out really well with soap and water, but I don't know. I kind of like, this is my bleachy one. Don't put the bleach in here though. Just dip your tip of your brush into it. Okay, so I'm going to start painting with the bleach inside the little petals of the flower. Now, the thing that's nice about using embossing powder is because the embossing powder is raised up a little bit, it helps to keep the bleach inside the flowers. But sometimes the bleach sneaks out. And it's not like, you can't take a mono sand eraser and get rid of it. It's going to bleach the cardstock outside of the lines. And that happens a lot. So if that happens here, I will show you how I fix it. There's a really easy little way to fix it. And I'm sure it'll happen because it always happens to me. Sometimes you just get that bleach on there too thick. And bleach is not thick, but for some reason it seems to sit kind of bubbled up on top of the images. But can you see now it's starting to lighten up? Isn't that pretty? It's so fun. It's like magic. Do you remember when you were a kid, or maybe you got this for your kid? I think I got this for Alicia and Rena when they were little. It was like a magic pen that if you drew on the paper, you could draw all over the paper and it would color all over the paper, but you could take that pen and color all over the walls and nothing would happen because it was the paper that was magic. That's what this reminds me of. You're just coloring this clear liquid, but all depending on what different color cardstock pieces you use, it looks different on every one and you get some really magical looks. And I love how some of these petals come up really white and some just come up just a little bit lighter than the cardstock color. And I think that that's just because it's cardstock and it's dyed and, there might be more pigment in some parts of it than others. So it's really cool. You really get kind of a multi-tone look. But I love the way it glows. It's really coming out pretty. And if your bleach is really old, you can use your heat tool to really bring it up bright. That's another option. And that definitely works because just like, I don't know if anybody here's ever had blonde highlights put in your hair, but if your hair isn't coming up to the color that the hairdresser wants it to be, a lot of times they will just sit you under the hairdryer a little bit because the heat makes the bleach work better and faster. So if you're struggling, just use your heat tool and it'll make the bleach work better and faster. So I'm just coloring all in here, and it's hard to see exactly where you're coloring, but then little by little it starts to change color. Oh, I really like the way this looks. I remember before Tranquil Teal came out, I remember using Turquoise Sea for a bleach card. And I remember it was very soft, pretty, but not quite as vibrant as this. This is really vibrant. And I don't know, maybe the darker colors are just more vibrant. But it's very relaxing to do this, and you don't really have to think about, well, what color should I make this and what color should I make that? It doesn't matter. It's just gonna do what it does, and You're just using bleach. Very fun. So today in Wisconsin, it was finally warm out. It's been really, really rainy. And I think rain sometimes makes me feel blah too. Does that make you guys feel blah? Sunshine always helps. Anytime that there's sunshine, if you can just get outside and just sit outside or take a little walk, take your coffee out, that's always good for you too. I was talking to my friend Jennifer, and we're talking about having trouble sleeping. And I honestly think that sometimes you just get your clock turned all around and you start staying up late and watching TV and crafting. Not that crafting's ever bad at any time of day, but then you kind of like sleep in, and I think we're meant to be up in the day and sleep at night. Even if you're a night person, you're still part of, part of the group of people that a part of the group. I mean, we're humans and we're meant to be up in the day and sleeping at night. So I always said I was a night person because I just seem to be more creative at night and I stay up late, but then I suffer in the morning. So I don't know if any of you guys feel that too, but that is definitely a thing. And I would like to try to go to bed a little bit earlier. I don't know. We'll see. If you go in the group and you see me commenting on your cards at 2 a.m, you know it didn't work out. I really am impressed with the color that this is coming up. I love it. It's so pretty. It's so soft. But it's neat because it's like multicolor. And there's always those little stubborn parts when you're doing bleach where you will look at it and you'll go, come on, why isn't that coming up? And it might not come up. So it's very strange, but it's really cool. So what do you guys think of that? Do you like that? I think it is just fun. Yes, I think so too. I think that this stamp is very, very versatile. It's great for coloring when you want to do the fun coloring techniques, but if you just feel like doing something like this, or even, this is such a great detailed stamp that even if you just wanted to stamp it in gold or silver or white and just do a little sponging over it or a little ink blending, it's just enough. It's just the right touch. But that's so glowy. Now I'm going to add a little bit of heat to it because some of these are going to turn white if I do that, I think. See how it's just coming up even a little bit more? Did you see that petal just start to get really white? I'm not going to do too much because I don't want it all to be like that. I just want some of it to be like that. That's really cool. This is so simple. I love it. So we could also, I mean, there's a really pretty butterfly in here that you could stamp, and that butterfly you could also bleach. Let's do that. It's early enough. I think we could add an image to this. All right. Watch me ruin it right here. But, it happens, right? Okay, so we'll put a butterfly right here. Well, let's see. Where are we going to put our greeting? That's a question. We could use Sweet Friend and just put that down there. Let's do that, or we'll put it up here, even here. And then we'll put the butterfly kind of up in here. Okay. So I've got to make sure that that's really stuck in the right place because I'm going to do my double stamping again. And now it's a little more warped. Okay, right about there. Okay. So make sure that stays down. You know what? I have, sorry if I'm jiggling here, I have a little piece of purple tape. And I am just going to put it right here just to keep it safe. Okay, because it's warpy. Let me grab my ink cube for this butterfly. I'm going to use the black onyx ink cube because, let me move this up a bit, because it's a smaller image, and I think it'll be easier to ink up this way without getting it all over the edge of the Misty. I like both ink pads and ink cubes. I use them both. I have them both. If you're just starting out, ink cubes are really good. They work really nicely. And you can even ink up a whole background stamp with an ink cube. They do work really well. And they don't need to be re-inked very much either. I don't think I've ever re-inked my ink cubes, to be honest with you. But if you do a lot of ink blending with brushes and sponges, then it's kind of nice to have the bigger ink pads, and also some of the bigger images will ink up a lot easier with a big ink pad. Okay, so that's going on top with embossing ink. Okay, it makes me nervous because I can't see it, but I'm pretty sure it's there. It was there last time, so it must be there. Okay, and I will grab this again and the clear powder. I love how some of those petals are just really white. It's so pretty. Yep, that looks like it's spot on. You can see when you can't see any of the black, and then the black magically appears, and then we'll bleach that butterfly too. Okay. All right, here we go. Woo! That was fun. Okay. We move this again. And then we'll add a little bit of bleach. Where'd it go? Here it is. I have spilled it after I was done. That's fun. So definitely wear an old shirt if you're going to do this technique. I have put my arm in it. An old sweatshirt is good, like I'm wearing. So I'm just rubbing that right over. See, if you did it like that and you didn't have embossing ink on there, you would have no butterfly left. And then be careful too when you pull your brush out of the bleach that it doesn't have like a big glob of bleach on it, because it could drip on your card project. So it's like tap it off a little bit. So I will show you the trick, because for some reason I didn't go outside of the lines I usually do. So, but if I go outside of the lines, my little trick is I find a colored pencil that's very close to the color of the cardstock, and I just do a little shadow of colored pencil right along the outside. And you can't really probably see that on screen, but I can see it really lightly. And it's actually very pretty. It kind of creates a little bit of glowiness around the edge. But here's a little spot that I went outside the lines. So when you color over that, it fills it in. So that's my little trick. And I brought a couple other ones to try to match those other pieces of cardstock in case I have an accident. Okay, so I think I'm gonna just do the heat tool thing with this and see what happens. Because it is a little bit wet still. Oh, that's cool. I'm not going to do much more than that. I'm going to let the rest air dry. But you can see you've got white, you've got turquoise in there, you've got soft, kind of like that soft aqua. And that's pretty. I like it. Okay. There's some bleach down here. Got to be careful. Okay, so now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to emboss a greeting on there. And I'm going to maybe emboss it in white. I don't know if you'd see it very well in black. Oh, you might though. I could do it in black. Maybe black would be better. I could double emboss it the same way I just did. Do the black and then do the clear over it. This way it won't lose any detail and I don't have to worry about it getting all over. Okay, so I'll put my sweet friend right there. This is a tiny little greeting. Some of the greetings in the mini stamp sets are really tiny, but they're really useful because they fit into those tiny little areas. Okay, so I will pick that up with the Misty, and then I'll use my ink cube to ink it up. And of course, there are so many greetings that you probably have in other stamp sets too that would work really well. That'll work. I'll take a picture of it and post this in my Facebook group. Ooh, I almost moved the stamp. That would have been a disaster. Okay, now I'm going to go back and use the embossing ink again. And you also, when you use the tidy towel, just, make sure that it's dry. I usually just, because I wear a lot of old clothes when I stamp, I will use my sleeves to dry things off. I'm quite a mess in the craft room normally. Okay. And one more time with the embossing. Grab that again. And the clear. This is a fun embossing technique, definitely. That looks good. Okay. And now I will emboss it. Trying not to hit the butterfly or anything. Yeah, I think that's gonna look good in the right, it looks a lot brighter to me on my screen, so I like it. So I'll take a picture of that. Well, we'll finish it, we'll make a card out of it. Now I cut this one pretty small. This cardstock is 3.5 inches by 4 3/4 inches because that's a lot of color. And when you're working with so much color like that, I like to have a big, wide white border. Just design-wise, I think that looks better than just to have a whole card like that. I think you get the white on there and it really makes a difference. So I will layer this with some black. First, I'll do my little skinny layer. So the tranquil teal layer is, look, it matches my tape runner. The tranquil teal layer is 3.5 by 4 3/4. And then my black layer is 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. And I did use a lot of tape on that because it's a little warpy from all the embossing. Okay, so there we go. And then I'm going to put that onto a white card base. So this is a tent fold one. But see, doesn't that make a difference now when you see it like that? You got to have the white in there, that big white border. All right. And then I do have like a little bit there of bleach. So I'll just fill that in a little bit with the pencil. And that'll go away. There you go. So there is my bleached hydrangea. It's really fun. It's a lot of fun. So now I'm going to make another card. Another very simple card. Let me get this one out of the way. And this one I'm going to do with the faded brick. So with faded brick, it just, butterflies are kind of one of my loves. I love butterfly stamps. And this is from the Love and Kindness stamp set. I know a lot of you guys had purchased this stamp set when we originally released it because a portion of it goes to the Global Empowerment Mission. This did sell out, and you could definitely use the butterfly that we used the other night from Elegant Asters. That would work great. I just felt like I wanted to use a different butterfly just so that all of my card posts didn't look exactly the same, and you could, you know, kind of get an idea of some other looks. So I think I might do maybe a one down here, one up here, and maybe one coming in on this side kind of look. And I think I'll stamp this one actually with a block, and I will be brave and use some black embossing powder. Let's see if this fits. Boy, that's really, because these comfort blocks have rounded edges, there's no sharp edges on here. I would go up the next size with this block. Just feel like it, you know, the round edge, if the stamp is leaning on the edge, it might not make contact with the paper. So I'm going to use the bigger one. And then, do I want to do that, or do I want to go up the side, or do I want to go in this orientation? Maybe I'll go in this orientation. Maybe I'll do a similar layout to the other card where I can do one here and one here. I think I'll do that because if you look at these greetings, then we can do a big kindness across the center. Yeah, I'll do that. Okay. Now, I am going to use some, where'd it go? I have my Versamark ink here. I'll use my Versamark ink. Either the Versamark ink or the Gina K Designs embossing and watermark ink. Both of those are great. They'll work great, but if you have Versamark already, it's great ink. Okay. So I'm going to put this one right down here. This could be a little bit smaller, this card. Maybe I'll make it a little smaller. Sorry, I know I'm in the middle of it, but I'm trying to prepare ahead. So I think I'm going to cut this down a little bit. I'm going to make this one the same size, 3.5 by 4 3/4. Just because of the darkness of the card. You know, when you use dark cardstock for your focal image, it's a lot of color. It's a lot of darkness. And so I feel like we probably would be better having a little more white space around the edge. Just humor me. It's like my brain is just spouting, but you get what I'm saying, right? Good. So we'll put this one here like this. Hopefully I'm going to get good contact everywhere. Okay. And then I'll put the other one, the next one, just over here. So we're just going to get half of him, her. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And I think maybe I'll keep the same orientation for this one. So we just need some open space. That's what it's all about. All right, hopefully I'll get good coverage with the black. So I'm using the black fine detail powder. My black, I think I was cutting paper and I had it open and it got all in the embossing powder. That looks pretty good. And so I have like little shreds of white cardstock in my embossing powder. I am a mess. Thank you for still being here, even though I'm a mess. All right, and then with black, you do want to make sure that you get rid of any of the little flecks that are on the cardstock. But you can also use a mono sand eraser and erase those little flecks if they're really bothersome. Sometimes it's just a little tiny speck here and there. Okay, so I'm going to emboss this now. Looking good. This one comes up really bright, this color. Really easily, too. I wonder if that turquoise one is still lifting. And I think it looks about the same. Okay. All right. So there we go. And now I'll get this out of the way and I will get some bleach. I'm definitely going to double stamp the greeting though with the black ink and the clear powder. Okay. Can you see that changing already? It gets real orange. Look how fast that's starting to change. It's so fun. It's really cool to see what it does. That's just really pretty. And you know, if you let the bleach dry, you can go back and color into these spots too. I did it once with Copic markers, but I didn't wait long enough for it to dry. And I did all this beautiful Copic coloring. And then I went to the kitchen to get a glass of water and I came back and all the coloring was gone because the bleach hadn't been completely dry. So the color, you know, the color laid down really nicely, but then the bleach was still working and it bleached away all my coloring. So you definitely want to make sure that you let it dry overnight so that the core of the paper is completely dry before you color. Maybe not overnight. That's a little ridiculous. But maybe an hour or so. But you see how bright that's coming up? Isn't that pretty? This is Faded Brick. Faded Brick is the bleach favorite color of mine for butterflies. Absolutely. I can't love it enough. And as I watch it like start to fade up, I almost want to color a butterfly that way, where it's real light yellow and it goes all the way down to peach and then into dark. It gives me ideas when I watch it, the way it works. It's just such an interesting technique to play with. And then you can see on that first petal, some of the yellow is really bright and some of it is really pale. And again, that's the beauty of this technique because you can't really control what it does. You just watch. You just, you know, you're just the audience. It's kind of fun. And again, you definitely have to use embossing powder for this. Now, I'm sure it would be very pretty too if you used white embossing powder for certain types of images, maybe flowers. Especially some colors of cardstock do not come up real bright. They just come up maybe a shade or two lighter than the cardstock. And the white embossing powder would be a very pretty contrast for that because you get a little bit more brightness from the lines instead of from what's inside. I tried Coral Reef, which is a very, very reddish, orangey, corally color, and it came up bright pink. It was really cool. And just a little bit more in there. So look at that. They almost look like real butterflies, don't they? That is so fun. Oh, I love it. I don't know if it's centered well, but who cares? It's Friday night. We're having fun. Okay, so now I will get my cardstock in here and line it up. I don't even want to, I'm nervous. It still all feels like it's still probably wet. Oh, that's not a good idea. Get that in the corner. Should I heat it a little bit? Because it looks a little bit wet there. Let me do that. It's going to come up really bright though. Oh, that's cool. This one I think is my favorite. See, I always start with the one I think that's going to be my favorite, and then I'm like, oh, let me give this one a try too. And then the second one always seems to be my favorite. It happened the other night when we were doing the crayon resist. Same thing. All right. Okay, so for this, what do you like better? Do you like kindness makes the world a better place, or do you like love? Love definitely makes the world a better place, but kindness does too. Grateful for, how about grateful for your kindness, or thank you for your kindness? Let's do that, because that's a card I would send. I don't know that I would send a card like telling someone to be kind, but I would definitely send a card thanking them for being kind. So let's do that. Tape this down too. This is making me nervous up here. It's like you're right here with me, guys. Okay. So I hope I have enough room. I'll move it down just a little bit. The thing about this word, kindness, the way it's written is it's really very frilly. And so if it's not perfectly straight, it doesn't really matter. Okay, I'm going to use black ink. I'm using the pad because this is kind of a big word. And then I'll use my sleeve. I'll start in the middle and then press my way out. Yep, that looks good. Okay, so I'm going to clean that. And then I'm going to go back over it with some embossing ink. I don't think that moved. I'm going to do one part at a time, I think. I'll emboss it and then I'll stick it back in there and add the rest of the saying. Okay, so now I've got to take this all apart and get that clear on there. So I wonder if you guys have bleach. I'm sure a bunch of you have bleach. I don't use bleach much for clothing. It's because I don't really take the time to separate the whites out. I do lights and darks. That's the extent of it for me. I used to, but I got lazy. And also, I think it all started because I learned the bleaching technique. And at the time, I was living in a house where my craft room was in the basement, my laundry was on the first floor, and I took the bleach and then I never took it out of my craft room. The bleach, the iron, the wax paper, I got all my housewife things down in the craft room, and we never had whites again after that. But I was happy. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Just feel better with the greeting, doing it with this technique. I feel like it's less of a risk. Okay, and remember that when your embossing powder is hot, if you touch it, it will smear your image. So, and I've done that. I was going to say, ask me how I know I have done that. Okay, now we'll find the greeting. Thank you for your, grateful for your. Okay, I'll do thank you for your. That right on top. Yeah, I think the black print looks good. Thank you for your, it was hard to see straight here. Might have to slide this down for just a second to make sure it's straight. I hope I'm not out of the scene. No, you guys can still see me. It's just I can't get my head around my overhead camera. Okay, I think. My gosh, do you hem and haw like this? I do this in my regular videos too, and then it's like 10 minutes of doing that, and then I just cut it out. Okay, so now I'm going to use the black ink cube, because this is a really skinny little greeting. And then the sleeve, middle. Okay, beautiful. It really does make a difference when you emboss it, though. It just makes it pop. Okay, a little embossing ink. And right over it again. Excuse my weird sleeve, but the sleeve just slides over the Misty. My skin drags over the Misty. I don't know what I'd do without a Misty. Do you remember stamping without the Misty? How did we do that? I've had people in my life that gave up on stamping for a while because they would get so frustrated, and then they got a Misty and now they're all back into it again. It's an amazing tool. All right, I'm just brushing off the excess here that I got everywhere. Let me move this out of the way and just emboss this before anything happens. So go fast. Okay. So what do you think? I like it. And I like the shine, you know, that matches the butterflies and the words. I think it has to all match. I feel better about that. Okay, now we'll turn this one into a card. Let me get rid of my embossing powder here, because that is gonna spill. And put my lids back on my ink pads. Every ink pad that I used is open. My night doesn't feel so blah anymore being with you guys. I hope you are enjoying tonight as well. And if you had a blah day, that this is helping. Okay. So now I'm gonna have to trim down another, no I don't, I have one here. So this will fit right on there. Yeah, that will work. And then we'll get that big white bordered piece of cardstock, card base, and that will really make a difference. That was a lot of tape. But, you know, when it's warpy from embossing, it just feels better to make sure that it all stays down. Okay, here we go. So for this one, I'm going to use a book style fold. That's this way, but I'm going to turn it. And yes. Oh, I love that. Something about that thick white border just brings it all together. It's just clean and just graphic with the dark in the center. It's beautiful. Oh, that's not straight though. Let's see if I can do better. Maybe if I can see it. Okay. I think that's pretty good. That'll be good enough. So let me get the other one. Here's the other one. And then the butterflies. I don't know which one I like better. I thought I was going to like this one better, and now I'm starting to like this one better. But both of them are fun. I know the butterflies do look real, don't they? They look really real. So I can't even remember if I showed you guys what I think I'm going to show you again anyway. Okay, so let me get these over here so anybody that's just tuned in can get a gist of what they're going to watch on the replay. We did a little bit of embossing, and then we used bleach to color the images. So That's what we did. So I don't know if I showed you this. I think I did. I don't even know. I bought this. Isn't that pretty? That's my birthstone. This is amethyst. And I was scrolling on Instagram and I saw, sometimes I go into the search and I saw just a hand holding this. And I thought, oh my goodness, that is so pretty. So I went in and she was selling it. She had a little crystal store and she was selling it. So I bought this one. And this is that, I'm trying to think what they call it, Brazilian amethyst. And it's so pretty. This is part of my self-care. This is what I like. I like to have a candle and my little crystal heart, and then I like to take a bath in lavender Epsom salts. Helps my aches and pains. I bought this one, and this is black amethyst. Isn't that cool? I love that. It's like my little side hobby that I have. Everybody collects something, right? And so this is one of the things that I like to collect. I just think they're really pretty and they sparkle so nice in the light. And this is definitely part of my self-care routine. My Divine Love candle, my Epsom salts, and my little sparkly crystals. I know it's goofy, but it's fun. Well, I hope, boy, I have a lot of ring light going on in my glasses tonight. I hope you enjoyed this technique tonight. I had a lot of fun with you guys. Thank you for changing my day from blah to wow and wonderful. I just love spending time with you. And if this screen is better, you can see what that looks like. I think that overhead wasn't so bad, but that's what that card ended up looking like. And this one, this screen, you can see it's very glowy. I like the glow on that one. And of course, if you are a colorist and you know what you're doing, you could go back in with colored pencil once all of this is dry and shade it any way that you want. All right, so I have an ending quote for you tonight. This is something that I have to think about and remind myself about, because it's easy right now to feel very overwhelmed. And it's easy to break down and just feel like, oh, I just don't know if I can take another day of all of this. It's easy to get on the internet and see people fighting, and I don't know, it can make you feel kind of blah. But here's my quote for the night. Sometimes it takes an overwhelming breakdown to have an undeniable breakthrough. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I had so much fun with you. I will be back on Monday for Merry Monday. We'll be making some holiday cards together. And I'm just going to keep doing this because I have a great time with you, and I hope that you guys do too. Thank you all so much for joining me. Have a wonderful, safe, and beautiful weekend. And I will see you all again real soon.